That's been sent to the Weather Service. Thank you very much.
When disaster strikes, the rapid and efficient deployment of emergency response teams, firefighters, medical workers, police, search and rescue personnel, and volunteers can save both lives and property. The Air Ohio series of lighter-than-air vehicles promise to provide a persistent presence to coordinate communications and rescue efforts. This persistent real-time monitoring and communications capability can be crucial to the successful outcome of rescue operations. The Aerocentric Federation is a consortium of researchers and manufacturers who are developing innovative new technologies, not just for the rapid deployment and monitoring of rescue operations, but for a variety of applications that will benefit both military missions and ordinary citizens as they live their daily lives. Central to the implementation of these technologies is the Aerostat. This tethered airship offers a stationary, rapidly deployable alternative to intermittent and often prohibitively expensive satellite surveillance and communications. The Air Ohio 1 lighter-than-air vehicle was conceived as a low-cost platform to develop technologies that will one day fly on high-altitude, long-endurance vehicles in the stratosphere. The Air Ohio 1 is a simple, safe, cost-effective, tethered aerostat, providing a test bed with up to 3 kilowatts of power and the telemetry and control systems to integrate and prove payloads of up to 200 pounds. Although the platform will one day fly at heights of 5,000 feet or more, the first test packages will be flown at 1,000 feet over the NASA Glenn Research Center's Plum Brook Station near Sandusky, a city on Lake Erie in northwestern Ohio. The lower-to-earth Hale testbed and the widely ranging weather at Plum Brook Station can mitigate the technical risks of a test in the stratosphere. Plum Brook Station offers investigators a flexible environment in which to test payloads. 6,400 acres of trees and buildings provide obstructions to check reception under all the forms of precipitation that fall in a typical Ohio weather year. The Sandusky area also offers urban settings, farms, roads, a wildlife refuge, and the shores of Lake Erie to further develop payload capabilities. The highly mobile Air Ohio 1 aerostat is towed into a test environment with a truck and trailer. A team of experienced operators can inflate, slide in the test platform, raise the aerostat to its flying altitude, and lower it again in a short time. The testbed provides engineers and scientists with wireless hotspots that enable PC access to the payload, an Ethernet connection, fiber optics, various Internet-enabled imaging capabilities including stills and high-resolution video. VoIP, or Voice over Internet Protocol, telephone communications and radar capabilities are also on board.
When you're talking about communications for Homeland Defense, you're really talking about three things. Number one is interoperability. If you have a large number of different groups that have to come together to do a job, say if there's a large fire or an explosion and you have people from a number of different communities that all have to come together and help for some specific problem, if they all bring their own infrastructure and that infrastructure isn't interoperable, our system won't work. What we intend to show is how we can use the power of the internet to tie these disparate or different systems together. Number two, we have to worry about the scalability of the system. I can make an interoperable system by handing everybody exactly the same radio operating exactly the same frequency. Where the problem comes in is when we have one of these large-scale events where experts tell us that upwards of 100 different first responders are going to come in, each with their own unique jobs, their own skills, their own need to communicate. If I have 100 different people and they're all communicating simultaneously at the same frequency, we quickly have chaos. Radio discipline can only go so far. So what we intend to show is how we can use virtual separation in the internet to make our system scalable. Number three, and perhaps the most important, is we need to show the survivability of systems. One of the big lessons that was learned from the 9/11 incident from down in Katrina was that when you have a wholesale loss of communications infrastructure, systems quickly break down. If you don't have infrastructure, then you need to bring your own infrastructure to bear. What we have is we have an aerostat, or a small blimp, if you will, that flies at about 1,000 feet. And with that aerostat resting on a tether, I can quickly reestablish communications in an area. I can bring my own communications pieces. I can bring in police, fire, EMS radios to the scene. I can bring in my own kind of miniature cell phone tower. I can even bring in wireless communication devices like 802.11b or G. I can bring all of those to bear very quickly with the aerostat, and using the power of the internet, I can tie all of these things together virtually so that we can go off and do our job.
Also flying on Air Ohio 1 will be a Glenn Research Center developed spectral imager that can identify algae bloom on Lake Erie.
This is a hyperspectral imager that we've designed for airborne remote sensing. We designed this here at Glenn Research Center. And this is an instrument that will be going on the aerostat. And the utility for this instrument is that we can use this to monitor water quality in the Great Lakes. And the Great Lakes provide drinking water to 40 million people. So this is an important issue. We can use it to measure the development of algal blooms, and we can also use it to measure sediment discharge into the Great Lakes. And sediment discharge relates to the, or carries bacteria into the lake. So that's another important issue for us to keep tabs on.
Solar cell coatings and solar blanket materials could also be tested for lightweight power generation. The 1,000-foot altitude of the Air Ohio 1 provides many researchers with a flexible and low-cost test platform. Work is ongoing in power systems, batteries, and photovoltaics to increase the HALE test bed's lift capabilities. First to 5,000 feet, then to the stratosphere. Propulsion research will one day make the aerostat even more mobile and capable of greater autonomy. In addition to testing payloads, the HALE Proving Station serves national interests in many ways, including defense, homeland security, agriculture, environment, telemedicine, industry, government, and education. Aerostats are a proven technology already surveilling America's southern borders. One day, they may also monitor America's vast east and west coasts, or the waters off Lake Erie and the other Great Lakes for unlawful activity. On the battlefield, they can provide the military with net-centric system connectivity and persistent visual presence. In the future, they could be used to recover from terrorist attacks with more flexibility and persistent coverage than satellite surveillance.
In my experience, we've rarely had satellites and aircraft where we need them for imaging and communications for emergency response. For example, after 9/11, when NASA was mapping Ground Zero for the extent of the asbestos, it took FEMA nearly 48 hours to fly the tapes all the way to California and back so that people could see the pictures. With the instruments and communications that we can mount on the aerostat, we can reduce that time to 30 minutes.
Aerostats can be used to observe traffic patterns and reduce road congestion, to patrol America's borders, or to monitor security at critical locations. HALE vehicles can help doctors treat patients over long distances, or educators to reach students in remote locations. In the case of a natural disaster, aerostats will quickly reestablish communications lost by toppled cell towers or downed telephone lines. But most importantly, they will advance the coordination of emergency response capabilities, and that saves lives. Advancing this technology is critical to the national interest. The HALE Proving Station is a cost-effective, flexible means to further this technology. Be a part of this revolutionary advancement to persistent presence.